Hi everyone and welcome. In this video we got RiSk taking on JoRt in the 1v1 tournament that you can find on the GBG Discord. You'll see that in the description link below. This map being flats, a little bit of food here, some berries, some nerfs and some rontos that can be lured. Both players playing Confederacy. And since there's nerfs and probably be a nursery, it seems like maybe 6-8 nerfs on this. Definitely going to be a nursery. Confed are a very good civ to go for the early Mountie aggression. So we've got JoRt down here in the red, we've got RiSk up here in the purple. Flats is a very easy map to do a bit of walling on as well. But we'll see what these players decide to get up to. You see that RiSk's made a bit of a mistake here, building his food processor before spying that there's all these nerfs. What would have been the best play is to get them housed, and then go for the additional food here. You see that JoRt's done that, so he's gotten it housed, and then he's lured a Ronto over to start getting food from that to work towards tech level 2. We're just finding his last nerfs here, so it's going to take a while, and has to keep all these workers on here as well. He's being very greedy not eating one of the banthas. Because typically you need about 8 workers to saturate this and give you 50 food per rotation of a worker being built. And he's got to slowly get up to 100 carbon here, but then there's an additional problem here because we're going to need a house as well. So you need to get a house right now, but he's going to greedily go for the nursery. So we're now housed with no carbon for a house. And a little bit behind in the food as well, so a fair bit of mistakes there. You can see that you do need to make smart decisions even in the very, very early game. Because it's quite a while to be housed here. You see JoRt should be ahead now in workers. Just one at the moment. This should really work out to about 2 worker lead, I think. And that's got the house up now. So I think things are normalised for him. He just needs to start eating all these rontos. You can see there's 4 rontos, a lot of food. And I think the amount of food that you're getting here, getting nerfs and it being flats, it's kind of a map that encourages you to go for a T3, I would think, like a wall off. And a bit of a cheeky T3. But the way that this spawn, there are rushing opportunities because it's not that long of a distance. But it really depends on whether the players are able to wall off adequately or not. And JoRt definitely a bit ahead here in the food since he's had his stuff housed very early. He's already finished a Ronto. That'll be a lot more food than you would gauge from these berries because they're quite a slow gather rate. I think maybe the slowest in the game, to be honest. And we've not got carbon processor yet for RiSk. JoRt's already got his, so everything's going really quite well for JoRt, I think. Be interested to see what he does. He's starting to do some sort of walling up here with prefab shelters. Closing up that gap. There's a few gaps. And dropping the troop centre now. RiSk on the other hand gets his carb, very awful carbon as he keeps making me watch and see with my own eyes. I hate them. Because I've got the berries here, it's going to block a bit of access. Worker bugging out a little bit there, trying to die to the Ronto. And look at the arc that these guys are going as well. So I feel like everything's going wrong here for RiSk in this game. Like absolutely everything. Just one thing after another. Food processor now for these berries. Interested what's going on with JoRt here. There's still 2 Rontos to use. Has he not seen them? Oh, you've seen one of them. Because you don't really need the berries. I'm pretty sure you can go T2 here, Power Core Troop Center, some Mounties, without actually going on the berries with food processor. I think you can do it after you've built your infrastructure for your military, so you can have quite a potent quick rush. And he definitely has vision of this, or he did before. I'm guessing he's missed both of these. This is really bad. This is almost going to be worse than everything RiSk subjected himself to. Because this is a lot of food. 800 food. Maybe see it here? He does see it now. Hopefully he gets it. Because these are the kind of things that ruin games. You missing like 800 food like that. That's why you definitely always want to be looking at your opponent as well and seeing, well, how many lure have they got? Well, where the hell are mine? Because they should be, most of the time, very even. And I'll be risking his last Ronto now. As JoRt's not eating these two. I've got to remember as well, bear in mind that these Rontos are like the most efficient food source being hunted animals. So much more than this. Look at this guy, just completely stuck. What a shambles berry foraging is. How's he even stuck? Worst. Absolutely worst. 2 troop centres down, 1 for RiSk, second on the way. So you can see that JoRt's always been a bit ahead in his carbon. And the first Mountaineer running away towards JoRt's base from RiSk. Does find this wrong, that's good. I think if you nail everything here though, you eat the Rontos quite quickly. The mistakes that RiSk's made, he kind of just dies. Because he's just behind in both food and carbon. Yeah, this Mountie's going to get into JoRt's carbon. And going to cause a bit of chaos here. I think JoRt's just hit T2. He's getting his upgrades, Trooper, Macro Binoculars for the range. So this Mountie's going to do a bit of disruptive damage. It's got about 3 workers here not mining at the moment. There's not a second one on the way, it's just made the one. It's doing a bit of scouting for him, causing a bit of mayhem, letting him know what's going on. And he's sort of surrendering himself to just putting his troops at home and letting them build up. He doesn't feel he can get out on the map and be aggressive. Unfortunately for JoRt, a little bit of a lapse here in his production after the techs finish. I think he's maybe building a turret here, just doesn't feel quite so safe. I think he could feel very safe though if he just finished off this walling here. He wouldn't maybe need to get the turret so quickly. At least until he feels he wants to walk out across the map. Look at the back here, he's finished off this Ronto, he's still not found this one I don't think. It is visible right now. These guys are just so idle, look at them all. They'd be much better on carbon, these guys. Helping fund the war effort. So the troops heading out across the map. RiSk is just lying in wait defensively, building walls around here. Making sure that no troopers are going to walk in here. He hasn't made any turrets because he's not really moved out yet. He is moving out now. It's typically the time that I think you should get some turrets. Just in case people have made it round the map and walk right into your eco, because that could just be the end of you. And 5 troopers there, pretty much just dying for free from JoRt there because of the sort of defender's advantage for RiSk. He's got so many here. And if you sort of added them together, JoRt would have enough to overwhelm RiSk at the moment. Which is why it's tricky to find those times when you should move out. And why it changes based on how quickly people tech and how much resources they have when they tech, etc. JoRt's going to quickly try and wall this, I'm thinking, before these units can get in position. It's very difficult to see though with the trees. I don't know whether he's got the small trees on. Does that actually wall there? It's amazing if it does. Maybe there's trees below. Yeah. Nice. It just took 1 prefab. So that's giving him a lot of time to get his trooper count back up. Eat this. And he's kind of just sitting here. His troops staring at RiSk's shooting at it. And RiSk decided to do something else. As you can see, he's using this distraction to try and get a few troops around into a spot, but they've given themselves away by shooting at the prefab, so they'll have to join up with the main unit here. And there's definitely some spots that JoRt maybe could have walked some troopers around into RiSk's eco, because he's very greedy and not wanting to build any turrets. Almost assuming that no one will take this path all the way around here. Even just a few troopers, you know, you could spare, send them round and get a little bit of damage on. Now, if I were JoRt, I'd definitely want to take this trade right now. Because you've got the defender's advantage to reinforce. You're going to patrol into him. RiSk pulling away. Patrols back. JoRt's definitely got the numbers here. I don't think this control group would ever win unless it was on maybe flank against line. Nobody's got upgrades or anything. There's been no war centers dropped yet. There's some slow adding of farms for both players. So all carbons really just going to farms and building troopers and houses that are forming bits of walls. The war center has dropped now for RiSk. I think he was building that a little bit a while ago, actually. Mech factory down, so he's sort of working towards those tech buildings, which is normally what you do around 20 minutes or so, and this kind of rushing match up. Fighting on the hill here, very good hill for RiSk to sit on. Going to take less damage and do more damage. So JoRt's going to run all the way back now. See, JoRt's done some very good walling around here, so the only entrance point to his base now is where his troops spawn, and just sort of hang out here. And often when the units come, they end up shooting this house as well, which is interesting. He's going to come across here, and JoRt's stopped making troopers. This is kind of bad because he's moved out into the middle of the map. And RiSk's just taking this opportunity to just go at him here. And they're not doing anything, unfortunately. I want them to at least be going round or something. Or coming back to defend. Come on. Do something. Move. Eat the Ronto. Spaceport War Centre dropping down here, forming a bit of a makeshift wall around the farms. As he's trying to build up enough to defend this, and these guys have finally decided to go out and do something. But they've had quite a window to actually go and do something, if he's never going to pull them back to be defensive. A couple of workers getting knocked off the Nova here. Could maybe kill the Ronto. I don't think he's ever wanted to eat it though. He's got a scout out here, just having a look up ahead in front of the army to see, and then he's got this hill that you can sort of stand on and try and take a better trade on. Well, he's walked into the lower part of it though, as JoRt is going to engage him, and I think JoRt's going to get the high ground here, or it will be even. And JoRt's getting the first few volleys off there. There wasn't a patrol from JoRt, but I think he does just win this by default now, after the first few volleys. It's getting kind of even. You can see how bad staying in position is against patrolling. Patrolling is just so much superior with how the troopers fire and what they fire at. I think both players would probably be thinking about T3. RiSk's already on his way now. He's had a very easy time here. He's not suffered really any aggression at all. He's got a very nicely defended base here. It's just this bit around the side that's open, but you can see the way the cliffs are. Got to sort of go round in these paths. And back to JoRt. We should be sort of getting close-ish. What you might note is that he's missing about 400 food, which is the amount that this Ronto represents. Just to tech up. To say that's the big differential here. He's got a lot of workers on ore as well, which I think he has had for a while, which just could have been on food or carbon right now. You can see he's got 550 ore already, but you know, he's still in T2. It's like he was maybe thinking about getting a fortress and some geos or something like that. But maybe with everything that happened with the troops getting in, it's sort of mucked up to the flow of his plans there. And there's still a couple of troopers here, legacy troopers from RiSk, just hanging about, being annoying and keeping him off the Nova. Gate and a wall here forming for JoRt. RiSk's doing sort of the same here with a gate. Some anti-air troopers because his opponent's hit T3. He doesn't know what's coming. It's difficult for him to scout. He does have his scout still alive though. He can maybe get into the base and keep an eye on things. We can see strike mechs are coming forward now. If you just put a little bit of thinking in, and we can see these troopers are come from the Nova and they're going to get these guys that are just sitting in the farms. They're very exposed. They've no turrets or anything to run to. The units need to come and clean it up, but I think he's lost like 3 workers here. And a 4th. So that's a lot. But if you think your opponent's T3, what can they do? They can put strike mechs behind your carbon here, so these carbons really just need to be moved. Like the entire area is walled, I could just move them around. To maybe here where it's safe just now, until we get some mech destroyers out. This trooper's finally going down, but these strike mechs can be very annoying. And the turret just feels like a bit of a waste here. Because you can do the same thing with a mech destroyer, and you could use this. You could get a fortress right now and just pump out some geos, I think, and the geos would cause irreparable damage. And I think it's something that he would have and RiSk wouldn't have, and it's just a lot of threat. Nobody wants to go Confederate. They take ages to build, they cost a little bit extra as well, they just sort of suck. You have nothing to scale into from them as well. The geo here would be so much better. So he's built 2 turrets as well. Feels bad, man. Mech destroyer out. He's just sort of forced to play catch up defensive here. Needs another command center. Just maybe overestimating how much of a threat this all represents, because he's fully walled. His only threat would be air. And RiSk's not done that. He's just gonna put mechs all around here, as you can see. Just try to knock him off any of these carbons, but he's still got carbon in the back. So I think the play would just be, you get another command center here, you just chill out, build up the units you need, and as I said, I think a fortress would be really nice because it would give him such pressure putting geos across the map. You know, if you're unprepared for it, you can lose so many workers so quickly. And then you could really just focus on booming and trying to pull ahead with a worker count. And then just trying to out macro RiSk. I'm a bit nervous for him walking up the troops. So units are accumulating here. See, RiSk got a lot of strikes. Still got some of his troops left over that he brought forward. Just try to prod some holes in here. But what it's doing for him is it's letting him just freely move his command centers across here. No worries at home, no aggression coming his way. Mined out all this carbon here. So got a lot of safe area to build farms and stuff. And he's maybe going to think about doing something aggressive because he's holding this position, so he can maybe get a fortress here and then just play from this position. And keep JoRt just pinned in here within the confines of his walls. It's a little bit boring now. See, there's still some of these units just heading over to these spots, trying to keep them off these carbons. It's going to be one mech destroyer just shooting at him here. I don't know where this boy's going actually. He's on a trip, as is his friend here. Maybe just double checking. Probably just a bad rally though. Or is he going to put one here, one here? You can definitely reach, can't you? Very annoying. And what you'll notice, this is about the time that this is going to go down as well. It's going to work out really well for RiSk here. Because if he wants to pull some units to go and deal with this, his front's going to be open just now. And he can prod in. Turrets are a nice deterrent though. Fort would be better. Either Ronto. Building some houses up against the edge, quite like that. He's making good use of the space that he's got. Certainly doesn't need them to wall anymore, so it'd be nice to just keep them out of the area that he wants to build farms and production buildings, etc. And I'm going to build a fortress here. Just going to keep this Nova alive. I think this is a very easily defended position though. I suppose we've got the turrets covering this now, so the fort's quite nice here. We're just going to get his one here. It's going to be sort of sandwiched in an arc though. Pummel coming here for the gate. Mech destroyers can shoot at this. What's interesting about the pummel is it's almost guaranteeing that the fortress goes up. Because he's got a choice here in what he focuses with his mech destroyers. Now, does he take a trade with RiSk's units? Or does he kill the pummel? Because he can't really do both. He has to take the trade with RiSk's units to stop the fortress going up. Or to focus on the workers instead of taking the trade and sacrificing units. But it looks like both things are going to happen for RiSk here. He kills the gate, he gets the fortress up. Fortunately, JoRt's got his fortress to stop any advancement from this side. He's got the turrets here, and he can keep his units in this area. We're going to need to see some shield generators, I think. He is mining ore as well. Can probably afford a shield generator here. And the unit's starting to ramp up from RiSk here. He's got a little bit better upgrades. And the pummels are going to be such a big threat here. They're going to tank a lot of shots and they're going to give RiSk an opportunity to walk forward and just snipe some units. This is kind of about the only time you could maybe do this while the MD counts are kind of lowish. When they get really big, they'll just kill the things too quickly in volleys and you can just kite around. Really nice idea here, putting the troops into the fortress. You can see they're just clipping away, doing a lot of damage. And he's just trading his MDs for the pummels here, trying to keep the turret alive. Would I like to see the grenadier he's got over here though, helping out. And we need some more units here in the front, we're going to lose the turret. Some mounties would be great as well. We've got a nursery, we've got 2 troop centres. The great thing about mounties is that if you push your opponent back, oh yeah, I think a few strikes have ran round here as well, and you can see they've got to the back of his economy, while he's low on it, mech destroyers right now. And that's really getting a lot of worker kills for him. There's some strikes here, not doing anything, but it looks like JoRt just wants to call GG, he's just not enjoying this. A lot of pressure on him, and he just feels like he can't deal with it. But we'd like to see mounties here, since the strikes went and ran over to do this, they're not with the army. And the great thing about mounties is that when you win a trade, you can just keep winning trades and you can really snowball across and push your opponent back. But GG, that's the first one there, so we'll move into the next one. And this is on Savannah. Prefab shelter being built there, almost messing up his carbon. Just loves doing it. And look at this map, oh, nice pond. Very nice, impressive. Nice food processor there. Oh, the instant worker center, I like that. Get a little bit of extra food going. He's going to try and house all his nerfs off the back of that. Now, there's not a lot of them, but we are Confederacy. I do like it when you're Confederacy, because you've got all that extra Nova from the free basic training. And it being a prerequisite to get mounties, it can be like a really nice differential. RiSk is doing the same thing he did in the last game, right? He's just hoarding his nerfs and straight onto food processor. Bit greedy. I personally would just eat them. Just like having the worker production. I just can't be bothered. But I think with Confederacy, maybe we could do things like this if we plan on going mounties. Thank God it's not a carbon processor. So I would like to see a food processor down here, over the berries. They just gather so much quicker. It's like the fastest versus the worst. Barring Hunt from the equation. Hunt doesn't count. I don't think RiSk's got that good of a pond. I think it's just berries as the extra food here. No lure or anything like that. A couple of fambas in the middle and stuff. Other than that, not too much. So, being that way, I think there will be farms before T2, so mounties could have some good value for the players. And I'm going to have to speed this. This is going to be a slow T1. Right, let's have a quick look, because I'm worried that JoRt's getting a little bit of an idle CC every now and again, and it's going to equate to 1 or 2 workers, because he's not made a food processor yet. So a quick look. Yeah, 1 worker behind. And I do wonder if there may be each a worker behind a nerf enjoyer. So we're just eating the nerfs anyway, RiSk. Why are you like this? Ugh. Why are his carbons always so bad? I hate them. Look at this guy's pathing. Fucking hell. Anyway, not really much going on. Kind of easy walling here on this map sometimes, with the way that the forests spawn. If you look at that, and then the pond, Wall to the pond, wall from the pond to the next forest. You wall up here as well, it's a nice one. I think both players have got fairly decent walling. That's why you would think maybe the main strats for this one being Mounties or T3. What are you up to? More prefabs. See the farms coming down now. Oh, it's a real shame to not see these eaten. Second carbon processor. I like it, the efficiency. These two guys will never walk a mile with their carbon again with a second carb. Troop center dropping for JoRt here. Could definitely get a power core as well, so maybe some early Mounties, I hope. Nice. Could build it right here though. Get perfect. Why aren't you perfect, JoRt? Decent wall though. I think RiSk might actually be walled. Yeah. So you notice there is an even quicker wall. 4 houses. So it's what, a 5 house wall? 6 house wall? It's fully walled now. So if it doesn't get through and cause some damage, this is going to feel like a little bit of a waste. Your kind of best gain from this is just your opponent maybe overreacting to it. Maybe don't want to make too many Mounties. Like maybe just the 2. Start working towards T3. You see they're getting they're indicating that it's fully walled by just getting stuck somewhere, and they're having their movement command cancelled. This guy's going to find the wall up here though. Yeah. So what they should at least force is a worker to come and repair this the entire time, or build a new one here. He needs to collect this guy. You could at least have 2 on this right now. I'd really like to see just both players go Fort and Geos. They're so good. #1 Geo salesman in the world, me. But really, they're just so good. And you can see here on the fish, off to T2. Look at things. This RiSk just having a very late T2. He's just started his. He kind of messed up his eco here, I think. I don't know how he's ended up on 600 carbon. Such a terrible carbon processor. But he's not repairing the wall here, which means he's going to let Mounties in when he's got nothing and he's slow. You would think maybe normally you'd maybe be off on your way to T3 by now, but I think he's messed something up a bit in his T1. Because you wouldn't think that the guy that's gone Troop Center Power Core would be ahead of you in teching without actually like causing damage to your workers or causing idols and stuff. JoRt's not noticed he's killed the wall. The RiSk's really gifted this wall to him here. But these units could be actually in the eco right now, just causing disruption. And RiSk's not really built anything for it. He's just loving that he's hitting this wall just now. Coming in now, RiSk trying to go and maybe wall this. Well, he's there replacing it, yeah, but he's going to have 2 Mounties running around. All he has to do is not take much command center fire, but unfortunately he's going to half health now. He's having to build this turret, I think. But you could knock him off bits, keep him off the Nova, or you could knock him off this ore. But instead we're just in the farms and it's just not good. Because look, we're taking shots from both and then it's just such an easy clean up here. And what you could have done is just hang around the base and even just perform scouting rather than killing workers. Just keeping an eye on things, and then that would really help you get your play going forward from there. If you're going air or mechs, etc. Just, you know what your opponent's doing, you know where they're vulnerable. And now he hits T3. So it would have been really nice to go for double airbase, I think, off of this if we're not going geos. Because we've forced the ore on this turret here. And you see RiSk's having to go and mine a lot of ore now as well. But these workers could be getting knocked off of this by the Mountie. Or both Mounties. You could knock off of here and off of here. It'd just be so difficult. And then you would know what's going on. If they've got air bases, etc. Or they're building a turret, etc. Waiting for the eternal fighters to get out of these bloody things. Not rallied as well. I kind of want him going straight across because he's risking to build a fortress, which is going to guarantee this area of his farms and his carbon. Very nice for him. Pulling off a lot of workers here from the ore. Now this area is going to have a command centre where he can garrison his workers, but he's not going to have any anti-air around the other areas of his base. So this area is going to be vulnerable, and this area is going to be vulnerable. And there are opportunities. JoRt's just not quite quick enough in getting his units across here and taking advantage of these little windows that are closing for him. See, the command centre goes up, but ideally could have been here a little while ago while he's just started building it. And if you think about it, you could see how many extra worker kills and stuff could be going. Don't want to be taking any damage from that, just look for the areas that are vulnerable because you can't cover everything when you just go for it. Now, his next fighters, he might have to just start keeping it home and think about a geo coming round. Because that's your play as the geoing guy here, is to soak up this pressure and then just try and do so much more with the geo. And he's seen it, I think, coming back his way. But he should have fighters at home. Just need 2 to adequately deal with it. You can see a geo sneaked around here, another one sneaking around here, and he's just not quite prepared. He's got a fighter here, but he's just idle. 3 fighters now. Look how many workers have done. Needed to kite a little bit there, lost one of the fighters. He's now doing a good job keeping these units in the right place. He risks had to build a turret here now, but this area is still vulnerable. And what he wants to do is just keep, he doesn't want to lose those, he wants to keep 2 or 3 here so that geos can't just come and, you know, win the one-shot trade with them. And then it's just on RiSk to keep sending Geonosians and try and get as much damage as he can. JoRt should be building some turrets and then just putting fighters in some key locations where a lot of his workers are. So heavy weapons factory is a good choice to get A-mobile and sort of save these areas where you just don't quite have the static defense covering. Because you can't have like a big control group of air going around with the threat of the geos. So the A-mobiles are even better at slowing down the damage. A-mobiles as well for JoRt would be maybe handy. Maybe best to keep with the fighters though. Keep the production going. Yeah, the good thing about the A-mobiles as well is they're going to help each player think about moving out onto the map and getting a forward down. That's interesting. I'm going to go put a strike back in the transport. Bloody wall being... Where are they going? Like, get a grip. Get into there. So transport, you can drop some strikes into RiSk space. Building a gate here, replacing his house. Definitely going to cause some damage. I hope he doesn't take any fortress fire though. Going round, that's good. Maybe going to the Nova and the North Farms. Just watching for any geos that might be sneaking around. RiSk moving out here to grab up this Aura's command centre, so outside of his walls. And this transport dropping off the strikes here. Don't any upgrades, but they just have to shoot this house. JoRt not reacting for a little while here, and he could be up here. He's sort of losing the element of surprise. And these strike mechs are going to sneak round because kind of a greedy wall here for JoRt. Maybe we could have just walled this bit. Or here. I think I would wall this, and then I would put a CC here later. To get that Nova. There's no rush to get it just now. But finally coming in, but he's given RiSk enough time to build the Mech Destroyer here. So he's not really gotten too many kills. And RiSk now, JoRt doesn't have an AMD at home at the moment. I think he's just built one. I don't know where the hell it's going though. Ugh, where are you going? That's very tilting. To find this going halfway across the bloody map. It's lost a lot of workers here. Not even much upgrades for these guys, but just because they're uncontested and the fighters just don't do enough damage to them. And RiSk cleaned up the strikes in his base now. 46 workers for JoRt, 57 for RiSk, so definitely pulling ahead off of that play. And sending workers around in this transport now. He's maybe going to try and build a forward up the top here. Finish the wall. Building a pummel. He's maybe going to drop more stuff. Pummel drop? 5 pummels. Not sure I really like the pummel drop now. It's kind of a bit late for it. Because we've already forced like mech destroyers for the drops and stuff. There is maybe the potential here with RiSk having a lot of stuff out in the middle of the map that you could maybe catch him off guard with a pummel drop at home. I don't know. I think I would value maybe just having more mech destroyers, you know, like a bigger standing army right now just to keep map control. This would be nice against like a really heavily airing player. A fortress here. Slightly unambitious. Just RiSk's full before. You can maybe grab this here. I guess the trees are looking at. You could maybe mine them down though and build over them. I think RiSk's away to scout this with workers. Come over here to build a CC. I'm assuming, yeah. Not what you want to see when you go build a command center. To transport the pummels here, RiSk has moved forward though into the centre of the map, grab up this Nova, Seems a very intuitive sort of play here. You get this Nova and then you can just spam artillery. Shield generator going down at the front of the base here. And it's going to be very difficult for JoRt to hold this because look at where you can stand your units. There's not a lot of space with how he's built his buildings here. Letting RiSk get set up here is going to have a lot of space for unit art. He's got his pummels across and he started building his forward up here behind his fortress, which is going to put some pressure on, but I'm worried for his ability to defend the front of his base here. Build a mech factory back there. There's not a lot of space with how this is spawned in Savannah for him. And the pummels are marching across. Mech destroyer at home here. Seems he's got 2 at the moment. Gonna have to chip away. They're going to take a while to kill 5 pummels though. But there's not really anything high value for them to be hitting right now. So we've got 3 of them idle, and 1 of them already down. Unfortunate. 2 concerned with the pressing issue at home. RiSk bursting in here into the eco and even rallying pummels himself. And 1 on the troop centre, 1 going for this command centre now. This might destroy anything a little bit and running in. Don't know if he's trying to do some scouting or what. But there's a higher standing army here for RiSk. Pummel's not doing much. Geo defending as well, does a bit of extra decent damage to things on the ground. And RiSk not much threat on him here. He's even got workers still munching the Nova. But we're into the economy for sure here for RiSk. Damaging JoRt's workers. And the power core is quite vulnerable too. This pummel could just go straight for it now. Little Mountie here helping out. Small skirmishes on both sides of the map, but I don't think there's too much at home for JoRt to push this off. Whereas RiSk just feels quite content, because all of his economy is down here. And over here as well. And here. And now Geo's getting into the economy of that one they maybe made to defend. And there's just not really anything to defend against it. There's no turrets. The fighters seem to have died. And it's kind of just losing a war of attrition here. A lot of casualties. Again, another little push here for JoRt, but just so all in here, and The amount of money coming in, RiSk off to T4 as well, is just nothing you can really do here. RiSk much more comfortable in this kind of scenario, I think, than JoRt is. And it really shows here. Some more geos coming in here, killing off more workers. Nothing at the front. Army pushed back here. The shield generator. Did finish his wall. But yeah, looking at a bit grim. There's a fire out here, it's going to die the geo gang. They're off just looking for any more workers. He's got a little bit of a hidden economy here, snuck by me a little bit, but no anti-air either. And then with 2 geos just hitting workers here, it's just so sad to see. So many casualties. Maybe prodding forward just one more time at the top of the map, hoping to do something. But with a shield generator here, he's not got the power core quite yet. These units are all fully shielded, so they've got double HP. Calls GG. Understandable. But entertaining series that, a lot of action there. And yeah, well played to both there, both JoRt and RiSk. And if you guys like this, leave a like on the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you want to get involved with these sort of tournament things that are going on the Discord, I'm sure there'll be another one after this. You can sign up to the Discord in the link in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.